Okay, so just going to walk you through the setup for overhead pressing movements in the pregnancy and postpartum season of your life. So overhead pressing, we have three different versions. We have your strict press, we have your push press, and then you have your thruster. So there's two things we need to be super aware of when we're doing overhead presses, especially in this season of healing or in that big physiological changing season of your life, and that is your breath and also the dispersion of intra-abdominal pressure, which comes from a misaligned rib flare that happens a lot to people when they overhead press. Okay, and that usually comes from the lower back compensating because they don't have that strength or alignment to do that movement. Okay, so on your rib flare, it's fairly easily fixed by just checking in, watching back, looking at cameras and making these two little adjustments. So what I like to say is boobs over the balls of your feet. So just by doing this tiny movement or belly button under you, what you're doing is you're putting your pelvic floor in a much better position to take that weight, and also it's nice and supportive, but also what you're doing is you're stopping this rib flare. And the reason we want to do that is, like I said, inter-abdominal pressure. When you're pregnant, you're already on a very pressurized system. Baby's going to be pressing against that linea alba, which is that line or fascia between the ORAs or six pack. And if you start to add in movements that put more pressure outwards onto that area, we're just going to make that area weaker, and then we'll have more to do in terms of recovery afterwards. If you're healing postpartum, that area is still healing and coming back together, so the integrity of the fascia is still a little bit weak, so we want to make sure we're not putting any extra pressure outwards. So also pressure goes down, so by dispersing that pressure through our breath, which I'm going to go through now in a second, is the second way that we can make sure that we're keeping our pelvic floor and our core super engaged. We're giving it the best position possible in those overhead movements. Okay, so as I explained, you have two breaths you can choose from. You have your inhale, so you inhale into that diaphragm. We're going to get rid of that chest breathing, because that chest breathing is what causes that rib flare. Okay, so inhale into the ribs, exhale, inhale on the easy, which is the way down, exhale, inhale, exhale. Okay, so again, we're making sure the ribs are staying down at all times. The second breath you can choose from is inhale into the ribs, exhale throughout the movement. Okay, so again, inhale, exhale throughout that range of movement. Okay, so alignment and breath, they're the two most important things. Then some other factors that you should take into account when you're getting ready for your push press is always come down into that squat position to pick your weights up off the floor. Never pick anything heavy up off the floor in this position. You'll pull your back. So we're going to come up into that standing position. Your feet are going to be shoulder width apart in that athletic stance, so no locked out knees. Nice athletic stance. And I would always say to clean the weight up to your shoulders. Okay, so now we're ready to go. So I'm going to go through the push press first. Okay, so boobs over the balls of your feet. Inhale, exhale, and back down. So watch my dumbbell. So first of all, my dumbbell, when it goes up, is out of my peripheral vision, so I cannot see this in my vision. And nice and slowly back down. So from the front, you'll also see as I strict press it, the dumbbell is facing forward, not this way. Okay, and the reason for that is if you do need to have an exit plan and it falls or comes down, it's not going to hit your head the way it would this way. Secondly, look how close I am to my ears. I'm not out here. There's too much pressure on your shoulder. Okay, same way. You don't want to be forward. It's too much pressure on your core and your shoulders. Or back here, again, too much pressure on your lower back and your core. Okay, so push, your strict press is always going to be the hardest move. So you'd use your lightest weights, but it's a strength move. So we will progress those. You will get stronger in those because there's no help from your legs. The second move then is a push press. So we're going to inhale, the same setup. Exhale. You have a little bounce, a little help. Okay, so there's a little help. You would traditionally go a little bit lighter on the push press than you would on your strict press. And then finally you have your thrusters, which are lots of help from the legs. So again, inhale, return to shoulders. Inhale, return to shoulders. I would not go straight into a second rep because one, you might knock yourself out of your alignment on your format, and two, you just don't need to be putting that pressure on your lower body in this season of life, okay? Finally, the last option on these is of course to do all of these moves with a single arm, and the reason you do that is to add more balance and stabilization work to that core. So we're working that core extra. Also, make sure you're breathing through your teeth. You should be able to hear you. Remember I was saying that is going to set those TBAs, those deep core muscles on, and that's really going to protect your lower back and give you strength. Okay, so again, you've got your single arm strict press, your single arm push press, and your single arm thruster.